Hey there, gamers. DreamcastGuy here. Today I want to talk about that controversial quote that came out this weekend about the idea of Xbox versus PlayStation. Because according to Jason Schreier, Xbox developers, the people actually making the games, they are thrilled that now Xbox is fully third party. Xbox will have no exclusive games. Everything they're making, from Halo, Gears of War, Forza, even stuff like Flight Simulator, everything that Xbox does is now coming to PlayStation and PC and Nintendo Switch 2. And apparently a lot of developers are just absolutely out of their minds happy. But I feel like a lot of people don't fully grasp this. I feel like the context of this quote, people are kind of taking it in the wrong direction. A lot of people are taking it as, yay, our games are finally going to sell. And I think that's part of it, but I feel like there's an extra layer that people have completely missed. And I want to talk about that. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, real quick before we get into this, because holy heck are even the reactions to it so hilarious, I do want to thank the sponsor for this video, Satisfy. This video is sponsored by Satisfy, the makers of the Zen Grip, which I've always been a very big fan of. We've actually been talking about the Zen Grip on the channel for years, and this is the best time to get it. They're kicking off their Black Friday sale, and really, in case you've never had a chance to use the Zen Grip, what makes them so fantastic is it essentially enhances your handheld experience, making it feel more like you're holding an actual controller. These big grips, the distribution of the weight is just a lot better. So since I play a lot of big RPGs or sometimes very Twitch shooters and stuff, it feels better in the hand. And also, I do like the fact that, honestly, it doesn't mess with the original greatness of the Switch 2. It doesn't cover any air vents, no buttons. You can even still use all the charging ports and everything. It doesn't even block the kickstand. But the reason this is the best time to check it out, they have all sorts of carrying cases, but they're about to launch a brand new thing called the low profile hard shell. It's essentially a cover for the Switch 2 screen. They're currently doing pre-orders for that. So if this sounds good, you can use a link at the top of the description box, or if you want, you can just go straight to the website and use coupon code DREAMCAST. But seriously, this is the best way to level up your Switch 2 experience on the go. Okay, so let's get down to business. Why is it that developers are thrilled to be bringing their games to the PlayStation 5? Why is this that it feels like such a big pivot, where it's not just extra dev time, it's not just extra money? A lot of people are taking it in this singular direction, right? I'm sure they are. PlayStation users actually buy games and do not require subscription services for them. Finally, people will buy our games. Look at this. Games will actually sell. Now, people have gotten mad at me in the past because I will always go on the record to say Xbox gamers do not buy games. I mean, the data shows that. People always get pissed when I say it. Xbox gamers do not buy games. There's always some guy in the comments going, I'm an Xbox gamer and I've bought 12 games. Okay, you are an extremely tiny group. The amount of people buying it provably is so teeny tiny. So these games go into PlayStation. Yes, they're going to sell, but I almost think that the real excitement from a lot of these developers are that people are now actually going to play their games. If you're only on this tiny island, if your options are, hey, the tiny group of Game Pass people or the Xbox island, the amount of people actually playing Xbox games, even if they're polished, even if they're great, even if they're Game of the Year material like Indiana Jones, the island is so teeny tiny. Opening things up, putting it on the biggest platform on the planet, the PS5, I think a lot of these guys are just happy that their games are getting played. But before we even continue, I do want to listen to the quote. This is a 34-second clip from Jason Schreier. Let's listen to how he phrases it.
And when these games are also put on Netflix, Game Pass, that means they're not selling as much because people can just subscribe to Game Pass to get them for much cheaper than they would just buying them. So that complicates the math a little bit for some of these studios. And a lot of game studios are actually really thrilled that they now get to release their games on PlayStation, which is a recent phenomenon that's only been happening in the last year or so, that Xbox has become a fully multi-platform publisher, as opposed to the past when they would really just publish games on their own platforms on Xbox and then personal computers.
So it's pretty clear that partially the math does come down to actual sales. It does seem like a lot of these studio closures, Xbox has closed so many studios, and I'm a bit afraid that they're going to close more of them. Like, I didn't like Hellblade 2, but Ninja Theory, they made Hellblade 1, Hellblade 2. They're clearly a talented, passionate, extremely focused studio, but Hellblade 2 sold like 3 copies. They threw that thing on PS5 and basically begged people to get it, and even then, it ended up flopping on PS5. I almost feel like the thing is that it's not just, hey, here's an extra place to play it. I do think it's almost a move of desperation. Xbox is trying to see if there's any appeal for their games. Now, obviously, I keep seeing cringe memes like this. I do think this is funny. I think a lot of these memes down here, people are being so ridiculous. You know, gaming is actually being held up by Nintendo. A lot of cuck memes. PlayStation owners can no longer satisfy Sony's needs. Oh my god, the Sony with Steam. Oh my god. I honestly think that a lot of this comes down to, honestly, that Xbox is trying to say, hey, we spent so much money on these studios and nobody even knows these games exist. Like, think about Avowed. I feel like Avowed is a perfect example of this, right? Avowed came back, in February, March? It came out early this year. I played it, I beat it, and honestly, I pretty much instantly forgot it. But so did the entire internet. Look, Avowed, it's pretty disappointing. It's not very good. It's like a 7 out of 10. It's not bad. It's fine. But here, let me mute this clip. But it's definitely a big, cool Skyrim-esque RPG that also has like guns and magic and minions, and it's honestly halfway decent. It's not fantastic. Nobody talked about it, but I do kind of wonder, would this have actually been in the conversation longer if it had launched day and date with the PS5? Maybe even if the buzz had not been positive, even if people had been bagging on it. I almost feel like what Xbox has done is it almost feels like it reminds me of the early conversation around early access. When early access was first a thing, and this is still a problem, it's the issue of launching your game twice, right? Launching it early access, people play it, and they're of course seeing the worst version of the game. It's barely playable, it's missing content, it doesn't have an ending, but it still costs a full cost. And so you tell people, hey, come back here in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, and the game will finally be feature complete. But a lot of people just don't. A lot of early access games, even when they do actually come out, they land like a wet thud. They've already come out. They've already sort of made their singular first impression. I almost feel like Xbox doing these delayed releases, it's hurting the games themselves, where Avowed, if they'd released this everywhere instantly, would have gotten more buzz, would have gotten more conversation, would have gotten any memes. I never saw a single person outside the Xbox fan base ever say a single thing about this, positive or negative. And I do think about if they had found a way to launch this in some extremely stripped down version, put it onto the Nintendo Switch, put it onto the PlayStation 5. Would that have gotten it extra appeal? And I do think that from my own discussion with a lot of these developers, I do have a chance to talk to a lot of game developers, and something that pretty much unanimously they say to me is that all they care about is their art being seen. They don't care about the business side of it, right? Sometimes these developers say some psycho stuff. Call of Duty developers think the Game Pass price hike is a positive. This is a corporate shill that happens to work at a studio. This is a moron. Black Ops 7 might be the first game that I ever actually wanted to fail. Here's the thing. When I talk to a lot of these game developers, their whole thing is they're spending years and years, passion, time away from their families, extremely good ideas, racking their brain, bug testing, literally everything to make a singular piece of art, struggling with the most broken engines to make something as good as it possibly can be. Optimization, cool leveling systems, everything. And then when they put it out there, they want everybody to experience it. I have had a lot of developers say that they want to price stuff as cheap as humanly possible and on every platform, just so that everybody can see how their hard work paid off. They don't want to just be an obscure indie hidden gem. They want to be that big, cool AAA topic that everybody is talking about. And I almost feel like a lot of these developers, their happiness about leaving the Xbox ecosystem is that it's such a tiny, tiny pool. I've seen some speculation that there might only be about 20 million Xboxes in the world right now. 20 million Xbox Series X and S's combined. Whereas, what are we at? We're at just shy of 80 million PlayStation 5s and PlayStation 5 Pro, which means that we're at a point where there is maybe 3.5 to 4 times a bigger fan base on the PlayStation 5. And I think a lot of these developers, it's not like, yay, we get a bigger bonus. Yay, our studio gets to keep existing. A lot of the people I talk to, it is legitimately just, yay, people are going to play our game. I'm very, very excited for Gears of War E-Day. That's the next big exclusive coming up, I think. And to me, I'm a total Gears of War fanatic. I've played every game 100%. I've leveled all the way to level 100 in all the games online. I've even read the terrible Gears of War comics and the fantastic Gears of War books. I am so excited about that prequel. But I'll be honest, I'm kind of extra happy that it's going to every platform so people will actually experience it. Gears of War is awesome. I mean, yeah, there's a couple bad ones, but Gears of War is a awesome series. And I can't help but think about the fact that now people are going to pay attention to it in a mainstream fashion in a way that it hasn't had since Xbox 360 was kind of per capita the size the PS5 is, right? I just feel like when I see stuff like this, I think that this is about a bigger conversation than just profit margins, right? There's been a lot of talk about whether PlayStation is also in a bad spot. While PlayStation is profitable, there is stuff that's definitely early warning signs that things are not fantastic on the Sony front, right? Apparently, currently, there is just none selling in Japan. That's apparently the reason there's that new Japanese locked PS5 that came out that is super cheap. If you buy a PS5 in Japan, it's apparently almost half price. And they're doing that because nobody buys consoles at all in Japan. Everybody either games either on the Nintendo Switch, which is a console. Sorry, that's a bad way of phrasing it. People only play stuff on mobile devices. Either on your phone, you play stuff via the cloud, or you'll play stuff like your Nintendo Switch 2, right? They're absolutely desperate. Basically a bunch of the big executives at Sony said they're trying to basically grow back that home fan base that used to be massive in Japan. They're trying to reestablish that. But even still, PlayStation is still profitable. But people are talking about stuff like, should they abandon the PC market? A lot of people are saying that technically, even rough napkin math, people are saying this math is extremely wrong. I've seen a lot of people actually mad about this tweet here, but Sony has made $1.2 billion on Steam, selling 43 million copies of PlayStation Studio games. Almost all of that, of course, being Helldivers 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, and God of War. But some people are apparently saying this math is extremely wrong. If we accept these approximates as somewhat accurate, I'd be very surprised if Sony considers anything other than full steam ahead, pardon the pun, on their PC initiative. Perhaps that doesn't take GOG and Epic Games into account either. A lot of money to make porting older games. I still think that what's happening right now is that a lot of these developers are in a spot, whether it is on PlayStation, on Nintendo, or on Xbox, which is about more than just raw sales digits. It's more than just profitability. I do think that a lot of it is, how can we get audience capture? How can we get people excited specifically for our games? How can we get people invested, emotionally on board, and onto our games, right? How can we get them to care about our products, our universe, invested in that next big sequel? And I do think that Xbox has realized multi-plat has to happen. I do think that PlayStation has been doing stuff right. I do think there are some leaks that PlayStation is going to pull back from PC. Personally, I think what Sony is currently doing is the smart move. Release stuff on PS5, sell crazy amounts, millions and millions of copies, and then a year later, put it on PC, optimized with widescreen crazy support and mods and stuff. Make it so that even if people love it on one place, if they have a PC, they want to buy it again. Double dip your profit margins, where when it comes to Xbox, the console is dead. I still stand by the fact that I am still in disbelief that we're even going to get a next Xbox. Xbox claims we're getting another Xbox, but at this point, I'll believe it when I see it. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you guys feel about, well, this? How do you feel about the idea of Xbox being third-party? And do you think it's actually going to work out in the long run? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. I'm going to be doing a very sappy Thanksgiving video this year. I'm just going to give you a heads up. I'm not sure if I'm going to upload it on Wednesday or on Thanksgiving itself, but I wanted to do a special thank you to the guys. This has been a hard year. All the surgeries, this has been like the hardest year and also the most fun year of my life ever on YouTube. And I'm being dead serious, but I want to talk about that in depth, because I do owe you guys legitimately everything. I literally owe you everything.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.